Welcome back to Duro3 YouTube channel. Audio. In this video we're looking at a KR-400 rotator that I'm building up, rebuilding, upgrading and whatnot to go with a KR-500 elevation rotator to go with the dual controller that I've just finished doing a little while ago, as well as the elevation. So look at the previous videos and you'll see those. So in this video we're just going to look over the upgrades I'm doing to this. We'll start with the mast clamps and everything. So this will be going on the bottom of this. So it has been, like the casings, all the painted surfaces have been glass bead blasted and undercoated with etch primer and painted. All of these. And I'll get to those in a minute. But on the mast clamp I've actually installed recoil inserts into these threaded ones. This is the earlier version mast clamps, so you have your bolts coming through from this way and threading into this section on both sides, where the later models you had a bolt from either side. They only made one version and they just bolted from either side. So this is just this version, and so I put the recoil inserts in here to make them last a bit longer and not to seize up on the stainless steel bolts that I'll be using, because these ones tended to seize up on the bolts. So as you can see, the top housing has been done. The inside of this was in very good condition, as you can see. So that's all good. So basically, that's, as I said, that's been undercut and painted, etch primed and painted. Glass bead blast. This is all glass bead blasted as well. Inside didn't need to be done, which is good. So there we are, and the bearing ring. So that's that there. So that's just that part of it. So we're getting into the motor itself. This is a replacement motor, because this one had again another burnt out motor. So this one has been completely stripped down. I'm using new spacers because the way I'm building this back up again and modifying and upgrading it. So he's all ready to go. Again, off-axis motor, lifts up off the brake pad. So this has all been done. So I basically painted everything in a silver in this one. I think, no, yeah, I painted everything in this one. So yes, some of these I've actually had these zinc plated, but that one's not. Okay, the motor, I've actually installed my replacement motor start capacitor mounting bracket. So that will be mounting in on the bottom chassis, so we'll be getting into that later on. Getting into that's one of the upgrades. The other upgrades on the bottom of this, you may see some spacers. These are 4mm aluminium flat bar, 12mm wide. I think this one's 30mm and that one's 20mm, I think, off the top of my head. This is to space the motor bracket, this one here, off a little bit further. It goes that way, because the brake now is here as opposed to being here. So this is the original brake pad. They normally go there, and it normally sits with that elongated hole here. It loads into that when I get to line up, and it normally sits down this way and it lifts up off the brake that way. So basically, but since I wanted to put limit switches into here, it takes up this area where this is, and these have a tendency. This one is the one that's actually in pretty good condition, considering sometimes these all fracture up and crack and come loose, and they get some really weird harmonics going, and they sound really funny sometimes when they get really loose. So I will put two limit switches in. So we have a limit switch for the left, limit switch for the right, and they'll be going in these holes that I've already drilled and tapped with them 3 screws. Another upgrade I do, I drill a hole down through on an angle to the center of this bottom gear, so I can put oil lubrication in here, because once I clean these up with grease and wax remover or Prepsol, there's nothing left inside these, so I want to get these all lubed back up again. So otherwise that's going to make a god-awful racket. So there's that. Another little mod that I'm doing. Oops, I'll start with it. Just going back to this, flared out. I've now put on the replacement cork pad. This is a much softer, well, seems softer, It's a different colour, as you can see, from the standard one. This is quite hard in a sense. And this here is my brake guard. I call the brake guard. It stops oil from the gears flying onto the brake disc. So this is the replacement brake disc. So as you can see, it looks identical. It's the same height basically, but what I've done is put in a little lathe and I've trimmed this out so it fits that hole size, and then it's actually glued and screwed onto the gear. The disc is screwed onto, not held on a bit of glue and a bloody C-clip. Yuck. So basically that's one of the little mods to do, and this is a stainless steel plate too as well. It's 1mm or 0.8mm. So this will now move up and down in here. So it will just slip up and down in here. So this actually acts as a guard to stop grease getting on it. And so does this here. So basically it's just going to be moving up and down about that sort of distance and won't be exposing the cork in here. I've got to, and I've countersunk these ones. I tap. These are all tapped. These ones. This is high impact plastic. Can't think of the name of it is the present moment. It was 3D printed for me. It's one of my new products. You can probably may or may not see on there. KR-400 BG, being brake guard. Got to think of a name, I suppose. So that goes over there, stop flaring it out, and then it's screwed in with 3 self-tappers here. I'll get back to that later on. So I just thought I'd mention that to you. So we've gone over this. I've also ground the corners of these back too as well. The knock block. This knock block gets really close to this. And can actually catch that, so I always grind these off to the same angle because they're normally flat like the other end and they poke out a bit, so I prefer to kind of have them cut down a bit. So that's got all that happening. I've drilled my cable hole here. This is where the cables will be coming back, which you'll see later on. Cable come back from the limit switch, or to and from the limit switches down through this hole, and then coming into this hole here. So this is the bottom assembly. So basically this, flared out again, this bottom chassis has been re-zinc plated. I'll stop flaring it out, and I've put some supports. These supports are in really good condition. So you might see on the bottom there was a little bit of rust on this originally, so I had it glass be blast and sent it off to the zinc plate. I had it re-zinc plated. So that's that. Ring gear is in reasonable condition, just a very minor chattering on this, which is probably hard to see in the right plane, but it's basically similar all the way around, so it's not too bad a condition. Okay, I have refurbished and I should have refurbished, not refurbished and I've refurbished and rewired the pot. So it's been fully stripped down and cleaned out, and had contact grease put on the swiper, not the wire wind part, the centre swiper. Okay, I will be on the pot drive gear and everything is in pretty good condition, so these are ready, all right to go back in again. Gears, I had to repunch the back of these gears on most of these. The actual, you probably can't see it, this is where the gear comes through and is pressed in, it's pressed back onto the bigger gear, so the smaller gear is pushed through in that area. You can probably just see it, and then I had to repunch it out again, just a little bit loose in some of these. So this one was okay, so it didn't need to be done. To get the light in the right direction. Maybe I should put the light on too as well, that probably make things better. A bit more light in the subject, especially on this side. So there we go, so I might be able to see it better now. So he was alright. This one here I had to repunch all the way around, a couple of places, so they're all done. One of the upgrades I'll be doing to this will be going from a 3-stack gear to a 4-stack gear for this one, which means I have to change out, there they go, there he is, the purple one. I had to cut down one of the bottom spaces to accommodate the bottom gear because we've got to go down lower. So this one has been done, and that's the other spacer for the other side. I'm going to get these all spaces in the right order. And let's see what else is going on. Okay, the other major mod that I do to to these is to the shafts. Now I've been talking about what I've been doing to these, but I've never actually shown it. So basically, I'll show you this one here. If you look closely, this will focus on this. Maybe on an angle, maybe which way we're going to go. You'll see grooves which have been I've been hitting with a chisel to expand this area and give it some edges, because basically these shafts, I'll just show you on the bottom how loose these are. That's how loose they are, and you actually can move them backwards and forwards in the hole, especially crossways, because these things spin when they're that way around, of course, the post of the road. So all the thrust is that way, so they wear laterally, and of course they're spinning, so these wear. Yes, the zinc plating has taken a little bit back up again, but if you listen, you can just hear it knocking, especially on this one here, that one there. But yeah, they're all loose. So basically when I reset these in, and with those grooves on there and flared out, I then press this in back into there, so it's a nice tight fit. And then the spacers are then glued in place to hold everything as well. So basically I do double whammy in a sense. So basically press these both in, and they get lined up. They just get put on. This has been, they just going to be pressed basically this. So this will be in there at one at a time. We just put them in. I will then go to my trusty vise, my offset vise, and then we'll be just pressing this in, and then I'll put a little bit of a little cup on the bottom here, and that will let it come through the bottom so it sits all the way down, because these shafts in the step are a bit short in the step, but you want to have this all the way through, and it does protrude into the bottom ever so slightly. Now once we do that, these cannot turn then, which means they can't wear, and they're fixed, which makes it much easier for assembly and longevity and all this stuff. So there we go. So there's that. That's another model done. We'll be installing one of my screw terminal block elimination plate with a IP67 LTW 7-pin socket and the plug to go with it. So that will be going onto there. That will be into this section here. That will just sit onto here like that. So basically that will be siliconed onto there and screwed off. So there we go. So that will be in there. So I'm going to go away and get these shafts pressed into here. I'll be back to show you that after I've done that. Catch you soon. We're back. Okay, I have installed the limit switches. As you might notice, I had to bend these at an angle. The gear doesn't come through this far, but I just like to keep it out of the way just in case it decides to lift up further than it normally would. So this is all ready to go. I have put the brake guard on to the motor mount, motor chassis, motor, whatever you want to call it. I have now installed the two shafts. As you see, they ain't going anywhere. They're not going to rotate, twist, bend or anything else. They are in there for good. So that's done. I think it should be a quick update. Oh yeah, and as well as when I put the when I put the these switches in, this one up here is pretty close. So with the normal hex bolts, these ones, I normally replace them with some socket head cap screws because they fit just a lot better in here. Much easier to get it than trying to get a spanner into there anyway. So basically I replace those top three with stainless steel ones, socket head cap screws, same length and everything, but just means it's a lot easier to do them up without damaging the switch. Okay, there you go. I'll be back in the next part. Rightio, here we go again. Part 4 or 3 or whatever it is. Okay, I've assembled the brake guard, the pinion gear. As you can see, the motor gets up and down. I touch my finger on the bottom here, get the right area. Up she goes. You probably won't see it, but it's nice and evenly matched all the way around in here. So the same gap, and the gap is like a millimetre if not less, so very little chance of any grease getting down there. So that is now done. I have installed the refurbished potentiometer and put the divider gear and the drive gear in place, and I've actually marked my halfway point in red. What else have I done? Oh, did I show? Yeah, I told you I did the limit switches. Limit switches are done. So as you can see, I forgot what I'd done. So the limit switches are in and working. I'll do a final alignment with those later on. So I'm going to go and start doing some more assembly. Catch you soon. Okay, just a quick update. I have now put the motor onto the top gear plate, and this entails making sure that everything, the actual pinion or motor, can actually lift up and down in here. And I also rotate the gear, making sure it's not jamming in any particular position. As you can hear, you can see it's going up and down fine. I'm spinning the gear as well. It's got just enough backlash, and in some places just a little bit tighter, so it's pretty smack bang on. So there we go, that's all good. And when you try and turn it without, it's a bit harder to turn, hence the brake is working. Okay, we shall move on. Bye. Okie doke, we're moving on. I've now assembled all the gears, I've set the spacings up, and greased everything, labelled everything at the top. I'll put my little symbol on there. I've also installed the motor start capacitor and the new bracket for it, so it's all in there. Turn that back to there, to the red mark. So all I've got to do now is wire it. So I'll go away and wire it, and I'll be back. Oops, forgot to mention, I have installed the new cover plate, or the cover plate for the socket. So it's all in, ready to go. So there we go. I'm going to go and get this thing assembled. Catch up. Rightio, all wired. There we go. Everything's wired. The potentiometer, the motor start capacitor, back of the plug, some pin plug. So basically it's all done. Cable comes up through there, and then into the limit switches. Limit switches have been tested, they're all working. So now I'm going to get ready to start the rest of the assembly process. Yeah, so we shall catch you shortly. Rightio, it is all now inside. That's why I like these plugs. You can pre-wire them and then just come in from the inside and just put the nut on the outside and you're done. So if you want to service it, undo the nut, undo your 4 screws, lift it out. You don't have to rewire things all the time. You can just test it on the bench, do anything you like with it, and then put it back in, turn the nut back up again, and you're up and running again. Don't unsolder anything. There we go. I'm going to put bearings, bearing rings, and other bits and pieces, and carry on. Catch up. Okay, we're back. Just another quick update. Top bearings and bearing ring are in, and I've actually just tip them up a bit. I've also greased the bottom track. So we are moving forward. Try to drop everything here. There we go. I'll do another preliminary alignment, making sure everything's okay, but it all looks good at the present moment. So we shall move forward. Catch up. Okie doke, we're all done. The rotator is all together. The KR-400, I'm classified as a D for Giro services. I've labelled the bottom. I've extended my north marks and my rotation marks, and there's the south. So everything is done. So I'm going to, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do, is I might join all the other, well, I'll see how I go. I might just end this one here and then I'll do a combination one with all the other ones together. That's probably what I don't want to do yet, but yeah, we'll see how we go. I shall see you in the next episode. Bye.